Hi everyone, and I'm starting a new series of videos on Mars in houses. That's why I've decided to tap into the energy of Mars, and I've come to my tennis courts here because this is very much martial energy, sports, activities. And this first video is about Mars in the first house. And you can find out if you have Mars in the first house by going to my birth chart calculator. I'm putting a link for it here. Entering, you need your time of birth. You cannot find out the house position of any planets without your time of birth, at least within 10-15 minutes correctly. And enter your time of birth, place of birth, and go to the, you get a couple of tables and charts, and look where the number 1 is. This means the first house, where the ascendant is. This is the eastern horizon, where the moment you were born, what was on the eastern horizon. And if Mars happens to be there, Mars would be indicated with the letters MA. So if you see Mars, whatever exactly the number 1 is in the charts and tables, it means you have Mars in the first house. Mars needs to be in the same sign as the first house cusp, and it affects you as the first house. Even if it's above the ascendant, the first house cusp, even if it's below, it acts. This is ancient astrology, this is whole house system, and actually even if it's a different sign, if it's within 15 degrees from your ascendant, it will very much act as Mars being in the first house. For example, if you have Cancer ascendant and your Mars is, but Cancer ascendant at 5 degrees, and you have Mars at 27 degrees in Gemini, the previous sign, is still within 10-15 degrees from the degree of the ascendant. So again, Mars will impact you as Mars being in the first house. Or you can have, say, Leo ascendant at 25 degrees and Mars in Virgo at 4 degrees. I would still believe, like, I still see that Mars acts like being in the first house, but it's most potent when it's in the same sign, exactly the same sign as the ascendant. So if you happen to see it where the number 1 is, you have Mars in the first house. So what does it mean? A really powerful position to have for Mars, because the ascendant is how we come across. The ascendant is the signs and the planets and what was rising on the instant horizon the moment you were born, and it determines our fate. It determines what we encounter the most of in our life, and what it becomes part of our everyday life and part of our mission in life, so to speak. The first house is the most important, the degree and the area around the ascendant, because it almost determines your path in life, and the ascendant also shows how you are first greeted into the world when you are born. This is the moment of incarnation of the human body, of the soul into the human body. The ascendant shows that exactly. So usually people who have Mars close to the ascendant, the closer it is, the more powerful it is. They might have been born very fast, because the first house is how you came into this world. So born very fast. For example, my father, my 2 brothers, my 3 brothers and my father, they all have Mars on the ascendant, conjunct within 6-7 degrees, and all of them, according to to my grandmother, according to my mom, they all were born within a few, usually labor can carry on for 2-3 days for some women, but for people that have Mars close to the ascendant, within, I would say, my 2 brothers were born twins within 2 hours. The labor started at 1 and they were born at 3 o'clock. My other brother was born with 3 hours labor, and sometimes the birth can be very fast and very painful sometimes as well, because Mars is connected to pain. Or they might have been, if the Mars is above the ascendant, usually the period before the birth, which means like when the baby was gestating in the pregnancy, the environment might have been quite stressful, because the energy of Mars is stressful. There is either some arguments in the family. For example, my older brother is born with Mars above the ascendant, within 7 degrees, but still it affects the ascendant. So his mother and my father were actually splitting up. When he was, they were arguing, they were fighting when his mother was pregnant with him. So there is a kind of something. The child is born into this world either before the birth or in the first years of its life, with some strife around, with sometimes there are people, I've seen people that have too many siblings, and there is too much competitiveness for attention, for food, for this. There is an environment around the person, especially the first years of their life, and if the Mars is very close to the ascendant degree, even on the moment of the birth, sometimes cesarean, Mars rules operations. Many children with Mars conjunct ascendant might have been born through a cesarean or through a birth that is more painful for the mother physically, and more kind of traumatic for the baby as well, or for a birth that involves some kind of forceps, you know, something a bit more painful, some very fast birth as well. So they're almost like in a hurry to come into the world, those children, somehow, you know, almost in a hurry to shoot up and to start tackling and fighting with the world and taking over challenges, and this affects you later in life. Or if the environment, if Mars is a few degrees further away from the ascendant than before, if the environment before birth or in the first few years of your life were usually with Mars on the ascendant more, as I said, competitive, there was more strife, maybe there is much more activity, very dynamic. In the worst case scenario, there was even some kind of violence or stress or a lot of stressful situations around the early years of the child's birth. And this kind of, or even if it was just a very fast birth or cesarean birth, this already predetermines how the child or the person with Mars in the first house will approach everything in their life, because the ascendant shows how do you approach, how do you view everything in your life. So such a person with Mars on the ascendant, they'll be warriors. They believe in the survival of the fittest, because that's, you know, they had to fight to push through when they were being born. Or in the early energy, there was a lot of strife or dynamism around. So they approach the world, and what the world expects from them is like, it's a fight and I have to win it. Survival of the fittest. Whoever is the strongest is going to win it. They might have this kind of almost like a warrior mentality to put up their shield and to fight for everything. And actually part of their path in life, what the soul chose, is it's a little bit harder having a malefic on the ascendant, because it creates a life that has a lot of fighting, that has a lot more strife. The person can often come across as more contentious, as more argument-stricken, if it's sometimes with difficult aspects. And the person comes across as someone you shouldn't trifle around with, you shouldn't play down. Some might be bravado or macho about them. Or, for example, look at Donald Trump, Mars conjunct the ascendant. Oh, you don't mess around with this person. Okay, you can ridicule him. If you're face to face to him, I think you'll be a bit afraid, you know, because this is like this kind of Mars is a very leadership planet as well, military. They might be militant by nature as well. My father has that, my brother has that. Such people answer so quickly to provocation. Push their button, oh, they'll burst so quickly. And sometimes I even find it funny, because I can say something as a joke and my brother can react so quickly, you know. Different signs, you know, because they're different signs. Scorpio, Mars and ascendant is not going to react so quickly. But for example, my brother has Gemini, Mars and ascendant, or Gemini ascendant, no, Cancer, something like that. Cancer ascendant and Mars in Gemini within 2-3 degrees, and you can press his button so easily and he would react defensively and start arguing with you. And then also they react, they get angry quickly, but they also calm down quickly, and they can, you know, they flare up very fast, which is the energy of Mars, and they're very easily, like, this is like having Aries on the ascendant, for example. They flare up quickly, they become defensive, they might start attacking you back, you know, or becoming getting ready for a fight, and then it goes off, you know, and they move on, while you might be left more shaken up, you know. But like Mars, everything moves fast with Mars. The anger, the moods, they come and go, and they can, sometimes the others might feel like they're insensitive to others, especially if Mars has a few more difficult aspects there as well. They might be like a bit like bullies, a little bit too bossy, too pushy. But many times they can be very charming, especially if Mars is in a charming social sign, like in Libra, like in Aquarius. They don't come across as so bullish, if as the same way if Mars is in a fire sign. People like ascendant and Mars in Leo, like Donald Trump, like in Aries and Sagittarius, they might come across like too strong sometimes, you know, but in the air signs they can be much more charming, but still, you know, this area to fight for what they want will be there. Bill Clinton has Libra ascendant. There's lots of charm there, but there's a lot of sexual energy. Such people highly sexualized. You know, the ascendant is the physical body and Mars is raw sex. Such people can pursue sex. Like we know Bill Clinton, especially Mars, for him rules the 7th house of relationships, sexual relationships, and it's in the 1st house. So he pursues charmingly, but kind of, as we know from many people saying how he's kind of a sexual predator in a charming way. There we go. But we have lots of you know, people that extreme, they have very sexy energy around them, very sexualized image. Mariah Carey has Mars conjunct the ascendant as well. They would either dress up, because the ascendant also shows how you can dress up very sexy, very provocatively, definitely with Mariah Carey, you know, or they would dress like more, not necessarily complicated and frilly and girly. It's more masculine and macho. Ellen DeGeneres makes the character more masculine, has Mars on the ascendant. Even if you're a woman, Mars on the ascendant, even if you're pretty feminine looking, Mars on the ascendant will make you act not so feminine, will make you act like a tomboy sometimes. Look at Ellen, you know, DeGeneres. We have some really beautiful women as well that have Mars on the ascendant, because Mars on the ascendant, the physical body, tends to give beautiful body, because Mars rules the muscles. And we have many models, for example, that have Mars with on the ascendant, because it gives lean muscles, not kind of so much bulky and fat, but it's kind of lean, because Mars makes lean and tight as well, so good, and they're kind of sporty as well. People with Mars on the ascendant are very sporty. So who do I give you as an example of Mars on the ascendant? Helena Christensen, she's a supermodel, Mars on the ascendant in Libra, the sign of beauty. But we have Kate, the Duchess of Cornwall, what's her name? Duchess Kate Middleton. She has Mars on the ascendant in Libra again, beautiful, but with, you know, very sporty, more boyish body. She's so much into sports again. She loves, you know, all the sports. Whenever she goes, she does all those sports and physical activity. Those people with Mars on the ascendant, they should do sports, you know. This is first their passion. I have my whole family, all the men in my family have Mars on the ascendant. They all are crazy about football and they play from morning till evening. My father was a football trainer for a few years. My brother graduated in a football school. My other brother plays football as well, and he's obsessed with that. So it's kind of, doesn't necessarily have to be football, but any kind of sport, those people. And I remember when my parents were trying to make my little brother, who has Mars conjunct the ascendant in Leo, very fiery sign, they tried to make him play guitar. How do you make someone with Mars on the ascendant? Yes, they can be musicians, but you need other things. He was so much into his football, you know, he just wanted energy to be out, to play, to compete. It becomes so much part of your personality, Mars, when it's in the 1st house. So much part of your fate in life. And as I said, part of their fate in life, and as I said, gives you boyish looks, boyish charms and attractiveness, almost makes you very youthful for many years, because Mars is a very youthful, tomboyish energy. Like, look at Kate Middleton, tomboyish body. Look at James Franco. James Franco was his name, Mars conjunct the ascendant. Look at his boyish charms again and youthfulness in the look. Mars is a youngish, boyish energy again. And even if you're a girl with Mars on the ascendant, this can make you much more youthful than your age. Nicole Scherzinger, she has Mars conjunct the ascendant, and Mars is about movement and dancing as well. And Nicole Scherzinger dances amazingly. She has youthful face as well, lean muscles, beautiful body. You know, and these people might love hunting or fishing. Oh, my brothers and father, they are fishermen, you know. And my father turned vegetarian, so he quit fishing, but he would go and look for hours at people fishing, because they just like this competitiveness, you know. They can be hunters, they can be into fishing, they can be into dancing, or athletics or sports very much. Like Nicole Scherzinger, especially because she has Virgo ascendant with Mars in Virgo, and Mars rules her 3rd house in Scorpio. 3rd house is movement and dancing as well, and it's on the ascendant, so it's become part of her destiny in life. And she was much more famous as a singer. She became a singer, but she started as a dancer. These are sports people. We have lots of competitive sports people. Senna, Ayrton Senna. We have Juan Fango, Formula One, 5 times world champion. Mars on the Ascendant. Competitiveness. Like, I don't know if you know about Ayrton Senna, but Mars on the Ascendant, he was a reckless. They're very reckless. They're devils often with Mars on the Ascendant. They can do it in their work, personal life, or they can be daredevils in their career, like Senna was. He liked to provoke. He would like to take risky moves, and they were so risky that he would kind of you know, edge people out. And if those of you who know about Formula One, I've watched documentaries about him. He was such a daredevil there, and he was rubbing people off in the wrong way. And you can rub people off in the wrong way with Mars on the Ascendant anyway. They're agents provocateurs. They like to press buttons, and they'll come and spit it out as they think without sparing you, unless it's a Libra Ascendant or some more gentle sign like Taurus, like Libra, which is more diplomatic, or Pisces, having Mars and the Ascendant in those more gentler signs. Like, as I said, Bill Clinton, you know, they're not going to rub you off so wrongly. They'll do it in more manipulative, subtle ways, but they would pursue their goal till they get it. They're not going to give up, because Mars is the soldier. They also have good discipline, because Mars is called the planet of Brahmachari, which means like a warrior or discipline. These people they pursue the goals in their life to the bitter end, but still big part of their life is to meet crisis, because Mars is the planet of crisis. Mars is the planet of anger, of aggression, of conflict. Whether they wanted to know more problems, they'll be surrounded by more problems in their life, having to fix those problems. They're called to fix such problems. This is their mission. They're called to sort out problems or situations of war, like Kissinger, who was like a diplomat, who was always, you know, Kissinger was one of the leading figures during the Cold War that was trying to balance things out, but always in a situation of aggravation, in a situation of enmity. In such situations is part of their life. And indeed they, you know, they have like they go after what they want. Usually they succeed in life due to the power of their focus and going after they want and not giving up vigorously. And they're given lots of, as I said, more challenges in life, but they're strong enough to stand up to those challenges. They have the strength. Mars on the Ascendant, it's kind of animal strength there. But life tends to be more stressful, and for them, especially till the 28th year before Mars matures, they can be lots more stressful, anger-filled situation as well. Maybe sometimes some kind of a bullying figure that makes them give birth within themselves to their own inner warrior. And often I've seen people that are turned as lawyers because they have to fight. People that are fighting for some cause, for example. Like my dad was a trade unionist, always organizing big strikes, fighting, you know. Yeah. And then like they need more bigger field for action to pursue their goals. Otherwise they can become, when they're not active, when they don't have goals to pursue, they can become depressed, dejected, or really annoying to others because of the ball of energy. And when they don't have some inspiration to channel that energy, some constructive area to put that energy into, they can just annoy people, they can frustrate people, they can be more like hurtful or kind of turn it inwards towards themselves, that extra energy, and start suffering from some kind of conditions. And the physical body is the first house, so sometimes we see those people, as we said, the musculature, they can develop it very quickly well, they can dance well, they can have tight, fit muscles faster than others, but also there might be scars around the head because the ascendant rules the head, or on that part of the body that Mars is in. For example, if you have some scar or some mole, the ascendant usually rules the head. So for example, you can have, my brother has a big bump here that he had when he was 6-7 years old or 10, and these people can hit their head more often with Mars close to the ascendant. Or you can have like a cut or a scar or a bruise, and such people often, because of the speed they move in, they're fast movers, they're fast talkers as well. And they kind of this energy of nervousness, they can't sit in one place for too long. I knew one guy with Mars in Capricorn, especially strong on the ascendant, and he would sleep so little. I've seen so many people with Mars on the ascendant, like my dad sleeps 4 hours and gets up and starts doing things again, and this guy again will sleep 4 hours and go to the gym 3 hours a day, and he says, I'm constantly horny, I don't know what to do, I have to masturbate a few times a day. I mean, like, maybe not everyone with Mars on the ascendant, but there is sexuality there, even if it's well hidden under a nice, you know, mask of not so much animalistic nature. There is strong impulses there, sexual or you know, or aggressive impulses, for example. That's why these people have to work out to expend that energy. And sometimes they can be sex workers with Mars on the ascendant, like Heidi Fleiss. She has it. Heidi Fleiss has Mars in Aquarius on the ascendant, and she was this very famous madame. And Mars rules the third house of connection. She was like a salesperson for sex. She was finding all those girls. Third house is working on commission, finding people and connecting them with other people, and and she basically not third house, but 11th house. 11th house is big connections in the society, so she had those political figures. But anyway, what I mean is, no, yeah, it is the third house, yeah. Third house and the 10th house. Yes, Mars rules the 10th house for Aquarius, ascendant people, and the third house. And third house is connection, so being a middleman. 10th house is people in high positions, you know, authority figures. So she was kind of connecting people. But anyway, they can be sex workers, models, they can be dancers, they can be fitness instructors, sports people as well, or they often love sports a lot. They can be litigators, attorneys, fighting for, you know, for the rights of someone, competitive. They can be challengers in some way, agent provocateur. My God, my dad is like that. He knows he would piss you off, and he would do it. He would come and say, and he would still come and put the finger in the sore wound, you know. But they're so able to overcome adversaries as well. They're very courageous people. If you want someone to fight for you, to lead your battles, to go and tell, instead of you are fired, get someone with Aries ascendant or someone with Mars on the ascendant. And they can be feverish. Their body can be more inclined to fevers, to high temperatures, which is Mars, to reddening of the skin, for example, or to kind of bursts on the skin because it's inflammatory. Mars brings inflammatory conditions. They might be like more pimples on the skin, or they might be more other kind of inflammatory conditions in their body. And some boils, as they say, burns, scalds, falls, accidents. They're just more susceptible to that. And we have people that sometimes part of their life is a lot of aggression. Bloody Mary and the Mary Queens of Scots had Mars ascendant in Capricorn. And it brought her high positions because Mars rules for her, because that's a yoga for Mars on the ascendant in exaltation sign. It's a yoga for greatness in some way, but she was so Bloody Mary. She killed so many people. How does she deal with life? By going and killing everyone else. And look at Donald Trump, how competitive is he now for the presidency. Maybe if you watch this in the future, you'll know who won, you know, but he definitely has the fight in him. We have Oscar Pistorius, the famous sports person, who killed his girlfriend. Ooh, you know, he did the sport thing, but he also did the aggression thing as well. We have Roman Polanski with Libra and Mars ascendant. A lot of his movies were very much about violence, and because Libra ascendant means that Mars rules the 7th house for them, so such people, there is something violent that happens through their relationships or to their relationship partners, and his partner was stabbed to death. Wow. And we have, look at the, maybe I can quickly go over the few signs. Aries, Mars in Aries on the ascendant, very powerful people, physically active. They're self-starters, initiators, they're fighters. We have Bolivar, what's his name? Simon Bolivar, leader for the fight of independence in South America, guerrilla fighter. Mars in with ascendant Aries and Mars, and starters. Maybe such people can do a lot of new initiatives, a lot of new businesses or initiatives. They cannot be put in a position to follow. These are leaders or soldiers of some sort. I mean, warriors of some sort, and Mars also rules the 8th house for Aries ascendant, so their life might be full of power struggles and sudden reversals in life, and maybe some big accidents that can happen because 8th house rules that, but also active pursuits of 8th house matters, occult matters, of active pursuit of power or self-empowerment because Mars rules the 1st house. Taurus ascendant with Taurus Mars people, with Taurus in Mars people, this is like Mariah Carey, as we said. Mars rules the 7th house of relationships, and Mars, which is in Scorpio, and Mars also rules the 11th house. So 12th house, which is creative house, which rules music, creative, so actively pursuing creative things like she does. The 12th house is very creative, very music and things like that. She actively pursued those things, but also there was some aggression and more arguments coming in her life through her partners or contracts. If you know the story with Tommy Loyola or whatever his name was, Tony Montola, you'll know that she had problems with relationships there. We have then, and relationships become a very important, and pursuing relationships become a very important part of their life. When the Lord of the 7th house is in the 1st house and it's Mars, she would actively pursue, be a very sexual person, but actively pursue relationships, so she won't stay without relationships. But there will be more strife through those relationships. Then we have Gemini on the ascendant. Who is that? And a Gemini Mars with Gemini ascendant. Kissinger, not Kissinger, Kissinger is one of those, but Snowden. Snowden has a Mars in Gemini conjunct the ascendant, and Mars rules the 3rd house, not the 3rd house, rules the 11th house, and it rules the 6th house for Gemini ascendant. What does it mean? 6th house is enemies, very powerful enemies. Mars on the ascendant that he's constantly confronting. It's in front of him, angry, powerful enemies that are after him, 6th house. But also it rules, Aries rules the 11th house, friends and benefactors, very powerful and strong friends and benefactors as well that are protecting him. And what is Gemini about? Information. So he made a breakthrough, he shook the trends, because Mars in the 1st house people, they're rebels. They would break the mold. They would go and try to kind of, to shake things up, because Mars is such a planet, it's a belligerent planet. So he broke the mold in information. He gave information that created him very powerful enemies, 6th house, and very powerful friends as well, and big popularity and big audience, the 11th house. Then we have, and such people can be very biting with their words. What they say can make or break, Then we have Mars in Cancer, which is actually considered in debility. They might be a bit more manipulative how they get things, but actually it creates a Raj Yoga, prosperity yoga, because Mars rules angular and trinal house. Mars rules the 10th and it rules the 5th house. 5th is inspiration and creativity, and the 10th house is public image and career. So such people can get really high in career and create something creatively. For example, Stephen King has Mars in Cancer and ascendant in Cancer, 5th house, creativity that comes to him personally, actively pursuing creativity and creative pursuits. He's a writer and having a big social standing there through career. And also, a lot of his books are pretty scary and bloody, which is Mars. Then we have Mars in Leo, Donald Trump, big example. Mars rules the 4th house, so such people can actively pursue family matters, property. What is Donald Trump? Is a property magnate. And there might be more conflicts that come through the home and the family, but the person actively deals with that and overcomes adversaries, and rules the 9th house. He's like really outspoken about his ideals, about his foreign policies that can be very can be foreign policies. 9th house rules foreign things. Look at Donald Trump. He wants to lock everyone out from the country. Very kind of belligerent foreign policies. But definitely people with Leo ascendant, they might have more contentious family, but they actively pursue home, they actively pursue property, and they can actively achieve a lot of success, because this is also a Raj Yoga of prosperity. So such people can become very prosperous in life. And Mars also rules the 9th house of inspiration and fortune, so kind of the universe spins things around. Actually, Mars and Leo and Cancer ascendants with Mars there in Leo, Cancer, they can be very successful in life. Okay, then we have Mars, and these people are very dominating with their presence. You respect them, you know. Might be they might Mars in Leo on the ascendant, and there might be something about their hair, because Leo very often, you know, people like the lion's mane, you know, that stands out. But there is like a warrior. These people are warriors again, the leaders and warriors in some way, in a very with an iron hand they rule, so to speak, and they have a very powerful, strong ideals or belief systems which they try to impose on others, which can rub others in some strong wrong way as well. The ninth house cast, and in his case, in Donald Trump's, is connected to protecting the country, the fourth house, and connected to foreigners. So he's combined. Look how Mars, like my little brother, has the same position. So he's very big patriot. The fourth house is country of origin, big patriot into the history of Bulgaria, and foreign. He's with very powerful belief systems as well. Anyway. And we go Mars, so the ascendant in Virgo. And then such people, like I said, Nicole Scherzinger, they're not so pushy and masculine and bullish, you know, because Virgo is a more feminine sign, Virgo is a more refined sign. You can see Nicole Scherzinger, she doesn't, you know, have this look about her, someone that would come and but hate you, you know. But definitely she's a strong person, maybe with her words, because Virgo is kind of a, she can say or make a remark that's very insightful, and these people would be very productive. I mean, Virgo is the most productive sign. They need to be useful, to do something of productive, like goals that don't have practical nature, they won't be after them. It has to be something that will give results in a practical way. And also Mars rules their sixth house, so which is about fixing problems. These are problem solvers. They can be very active in pursuing and helping the weak, those in need, which is the sixth house, or maybe also having strong criticism from others, having to fight strong criticism, which is sixth house. But they're also very strongly critical towards themselves, and they can be quite biting with their words and critical to others, but they themselves have a lot of adversaries and enemies, but they can put a lot of energy into pursuing perfection, which is sixth house, Mars coming from the sixth house to the first, and perfecting their skills and pursuing aggressively or doing lots constructively to help people in need, which is the sixth house, some kind of service, or maybe having to work very hard in their life, because sixth house is hard work, or maybe having to struggle with some physical illness, because sixth house brings the theme of illness into the life of the person, having to struggle and having to live very healthy, because Virgo, Mars is in Virgo, so such people have to regularly exercise, eat correctly, because otherwise inflammatory conditions or certain conditions start bothering them more. Okay, then Mars also rules for Virgo, Scorpio, the third house, so they can be like outspoken communicators for others, something, you know, connectors with others as well, outspoken salespeople, or very actively pursuing movement of some sort, or actively pursuing information of some sort, or having more arguments with others overall, because third house is the house of communication. Okay, so then we have Libra, as we said, Bill Clinton, we have Kate Middleton as well, actively pursuing relationships. Maybe Kate Middleton, I mean, from a very young age, she said, oh, I'm going to marry a prince. And she was like kind of focused there, one-track mind, you know. But they can be more strive as well, or some kind of and Roman Polanski have that. As I said, Libra ascendant. They can be very charming, even though Mars is there. And Bill Clinton, very charming. You don't see this rough, in-your-face martial energy, more animalistic, but at the same time, they might be more actively pursuing partners, relationships, contracts, actively pursuing business deals, actively pursuing, and relationships can become a source of contention of some sort, or some more stressful situations that come to them through others, through relationships. And also Mars rules for those people the second house, actively pursuing finances, financial stability, having to fix financial problems and resources, but being able to overcome such. Okay, then for Scorpio ascendant, Scorpio in the ascendant and Mars in Scorpio, my God, these people are powerhouses, engines, strategists. these strategic, they can be strategic leaders, and Mars rules for those people the first house, so they're very self-starters, they're entrepreneurs as well, but maybe more longly planned out strategics, very strong physically as well. With musculature, longer lives tends to give an ability to regenerate, might be surgeons of some sort as well, because for Scorpio, Mars rules the 6th house. Oh, for Virgo, Mars rules the 8th house. Sorry about that, I made a mistake. So for Virgo ascendant, Mars rules, no, yeah, it rules the 8th house for Virgo ascendants. So kind of more reversals in lives, more sudden changes. While for Scorpio ascendants, Mars rules the 6th house, so they have to, they have more enemies in life. So not Virgos, but Scorpio ascendants tend to have more enmities in life, more enemies, which is the 11th house, but they usually tend to be very strong themselves, because Mars rules the ascendant, so they themselves are very powerful to overcome their enemies as well. While Virgo ascendants can have more power struggles, because the 8th house is about power struggles and more kind of accidents that happen, while Scorpio ascendants with Scorpio in Mars, they can have more illnesses because of the 6th house. Aries rules the 6th house, but they're able to kind of fight through them as well. And they need to put some service in helping they often might be working very hard, because 6th house rules work, and they can be putting a lot of energy in pursuit of work, or perfecting their skills as well, putting lots of energy into, for example, being lawyers and being in situation of contention, which is what the 6th house means, and fighting for the underdog in some way. Okay, so, and there sometimes can be a little bit more darker side to it, because Scorpio is a little bit darker, you know. But anyway, then we go to Sagittarius ascendant. These people can have great sense of humor, like Ellen DeGeneres. Sagittarius is a fun-loving sign. They can be a bit insensitive to others sometimes, but Sagittarius ascendant, Mars rules for them the 12th house, so they're more creative, more artistic as well, and they might have to there might be secrets that come to the surface, and they might be very good at research, because the 12th house is doing research and actively pursuing research, or pursuing mystical, occult information, spiritual knowledge, for example, like yoga teachers, like, you know, combining physical activity with mystical, with spiritual, which is the 12th house. And Mars also rules the 5th house from Sagittarius ascendant, so creative pursuits. Creatively, I think Adele has Mars on the ascendant in Sagittarius, so she's a musician, creative, you know. And not only that, but both 5th and 12th house are very creative, inspirational houses, so such people tend to have more skills there. Or the 12th house can indicate Sagittarius people with Mars on the ascendant, they have a lot of activity with foreign countries, with faraway places. Okay, or something to do with charity that they have to do, which is 12th house as well. Okay, then we have Mars in Capricorn, and on the ascendant, Capricorn, Mars rules the 4th house, so actively pursuing property, or maybe some contentions that happens through family early in life, but more dynamic environment in the family, but actively pursuing family, having their own family as well. And it rules the 11th house as well, Mars, which is actively pursuing positions, networking through important people, actively pursuing gains. The 11th house is about gains, those people who go after gains, and actively pursuing friendships of sorts as well. And maybe there might be some contention, some problems that they have to sort with friendships and benefactors, but they're actively pursuing those things. And then we have Aquarius. We talked about Ayrton Senna, Heidi Fleiss, but in particular Mars rules in Aquarius. It's not going to look so primitive again, the energy. It's going to be more subtle, more gentle. because Aquarius is a human sign and it's more refined sign, but this competitiveness will still be there. And Mars rules for them the 10th house, which is the career. So those people actively pursue career. They might be more contentious bosses that they have, or bosses, authority figures, or father figures of some sort that were more demanding, more kind of bossy, more pushy, but still they themselves can become, the part of their life becomes the active pursuit of career. It's part of their destiny. It's in the 1st house. And then so the 10th house lord is in the 1st, and the 3rd house lord is in the 1st, because Mars also rules Aries. So they might be actively pursuing communications, or actively pursuing connections, information of some sort, actively pursuing they might be in media in some way, revealing information, or actively pursuing and going after sales. 3rd house rules sales and matters like that, or movement, physical movement as well. Oh, okay, then we have Pisces. 9th house lord is in the 1st, and then the 2nd house lord in the 1st, so actively pursuing finances. Part of the destiny in life is becoming to find resources, to secure such, to fight for such, to have new ideas and new projects in regards to resources and financial stability. And 9th house is about the Scorpio rules the 9th house, actively pursuing spiritual knowledge or higher education of some sort, or being involved with foreign countries, traveling, sometimes law, because law rules the 9th house, being very involved with law or matters of law or higher education or foreign countries of some sort. So thank you very much. My God, I'm starting to freeze here. It was a long video. Hope you enjoyed that one. And yeah, Mars in Aries people, Mars in the 1st house, I like it very much as a position, except that it makes life much more dynamic and stressful, but these people can achieve a lot and break through walls. So thank you.